I'm Claire, a 40-year-old woman whose life took an irreversible turn one night in a luxurious villa on the outskirts of Kyoto. 2 years after the death of my husband, Naoki, I moved in with my stepson, Daiki. What began as an attempt to heal a broken heart soon entangled me in a storm of loneliness, guilt, and complicated desires. After Naoki's fatal car accident, I stayed in the home he had left us, a beautiful blend of traditional Japanese gardens and modern architecture. I continued working as an editor for a small publishing house, the same one Daniel had once cherished. Ethan was only a child when I married Naoki. Now, at 19, he had grown into a tall, broad-shouldered young man. One evening, we found ourselves together in the villa's serene living room, where the soft flow of the river and the distant outline of a temple could be seen through the expansive glass windows. We sat side by side on the sofa as an action-packed romantic movie played on the TV. Ethan lounged comfortably, spreading his arms wide along the back of the couch like he owned the space. I couldn't help but notice the strength of his shoulders, the sharpness of his jawline. Something deep inside whispered, "He is no longer a boy." I reminded myself, "He's your stepson, Haruka." I tried to focus on the movie, but a strange tension began to brew. At one point, Ethan leaned closer, resting his arm behind me, his fingertips brushing my shoulders. I caught a flicker of something in his gaze. I tried to silence the pounding in my chest with reason, but a slow excitement stirred inside me. "Haruka-sen," he said softly. His voice pulled me from my thoughts. "I have something I want to talk about," he continued, taking a deep breath. I swallowed hard. "Yes, Daiki? What is it?" asked, my voice trembling. "Thank you for being there for me after Mr. Daniel passed away," he said, his words heavy with emotion. "You didn't have to, but you stayed by my side. I wasn't alone because of you, Haruka-sen." His words warmed me, and I smiled. "Daiki, I'm so glad you're here too." Yet his eyes didn't waver. They bore into me with a deep, unfamiliar intensity. The mood between us shifted subtly, dangerously. From that night onward, Daiki's behavior changed. At breakfast, he talked more than usual, sneaking glances at me. One morning, while I was sweeping the floor, he grabbed the mop from my hands. "Haruka-sen, let me help," he insisted. "You don't always have to do everything alone." I thanked him, my voice shaking slightly, touched by his sincerity. It struck a lonely chord deep within me. Later, while preparing dinner, I felt his gaze on me. It wasn't the innocent look of a son toward a mother. His eyes followed my every curve, my chest, my hips, my hair. A forbidden thrill surged through me, though I scolded myself for feeling it. After Ethan left the kitchen, I stood before the mirror. Despite my late 30s, years of yoga had kept my waist slender and my hips full. Soft brown hair framed my face. I stared at my reflection, realizing I still looked desirable. Something had begun to shift, and I knew it wasn't just him. A few days later, returning from work, I stepped into a transformed villa. Orchids and chrysanthemums adorned the living room, candles flickered warmly, and the dining table was set for two. Daiki, dressed sharply in a white shirt and black trousers, stood waiting. "I wanted to make today special," he said, smiling shyly. He handed me a gift. Inside was a vibrant red dress, bold, daring, with a plunging back. "For me?" I gasped, half laughing, half shaking. "It's your birthday. I wanted you to wear something beautiful," he said, his voice composed though his eyes burned. Slipping into the dress, I marveled at how it rejuvenated my spirit, making me feel young again. "I'm wearing this for Daiki," I whispered to my reflection. Though I laughed, excitement shimmered under my skin. When I re-entered the living room, Daiki's gaze swept over me. "You're stunning," he murmured. The table was set with red wine, and soft music floated through the air. As we drank, we talked about Naoki, about life. And slowly, the conversation turned deeply personal. "Why is someone like Claire alone?" Ethan asked suddenly, seriously. "Loneliness isn't a choice, Daiki. It's simply life," I answered gently. But he wasn't convinced. "You don't have to be alone. I'm here, he said, lifting his glass. His words wrapped around my heart. I drank to hide my rising emotions, but my hands trembled. This birthday wasn't just a celebration. It was a crossroads. Ethan stood up and came closer. You're too precious to be alone, he whispered, resting his hand lightly on the table. Our eyes locked. Without thinking, without caution, our lips met. The kiss was intense and emotional, a culmination of the feelings we had long suppressed. My hands found his waist. Reality briefly tugged at me, but emotion drowned it out. Daiki, this isn't right. I gasped, pulling away. I'm sorry, Haruka. I just couldn't help myself, he whispered, voice thick with guilt. Shaken, I fled to my room, slamming the door behind me. What have I done? I whispered to my reflection. Alcohol and emotion lulled me into sleep, but deep into the night, a soft creak of the door woke me. Ethan stood there, silhouetted by the moonlight. Haruka, I need to talk, he said quietly, his voice raw. I know it's wrong, but I can't hold back, he admitted, stepping into the room and closing the door. I looked into his eyes, and everything inside me shattered. I think about you too, Daiki. I confessed, my voice breaking. His eyes widened, not with shame, but joy. We kissed again, more desperately this time. The strap of my dress slipped from my shoulder, and the emotional walls collapsed. His shirt came off. Our hands roamed, desperate, seeking comfort. Emotion and guilt consumed us both. That night, we were overwhelmed by emotions, caught between longing and guilt. Morning came softly. I watched Ethan sleeping beside me, my heart heavy. The golden light of Kyoto bathed the villa, but inside me, storm clouds brewed. This can't continue, I whispered. When Ethan stirred, awkwardness filled the air. Last night was a mistake, Daiki, I said, my voice trembling. You are my son. He nodded slowly. I know, but that night was special. Even so, it's something we must never allow again, I said, tears burning my eyes. We are family. He turned his gaze to the garden pond, silent. This is goodbye, isn't it? He said quietly. Later, we sat in the garden, tea cooling in our hands, facing the painful truth. The night had been an explosion of loneliness and suppressed feelings, but that could not excuse it. We must not destroy what's left between us, I decided. That evening, I called Ethan into the living room. We made a mistake, I said firmly. We forgot ourselves. But I don't want us to repeat it. I want to fix this. Will you come to counseling with me? Ethan looked stunned but nodded slowly. Yes, Haruka-san. I want to make things right too. You don't need to apologize, I said gently. We're human. What matters is that we move forward. We began family counseling. Through our sessions, I faced my loneliness honestly, and Ethan confronted the deep wounds left by his upbringing. Slowly, we rebuilt a relationship based on respect, cooking together, tending the garden, watching films. It wasn't easy. There were scars, but facing them created something stronger. Through this, I learned, first, never let fleeting emotions control your actions. One reckless moment can destroy what took years to build. Second, loneliness must be faced, not filled with impulse. Healthy outlets, yoga, friendships, creativity, saved me. Third, after mistakes, don't run away. Face them bravely, seek help, and rebuild. Finally, setting boundaries is not cruelty, it's love. Even broken hearts can heal if we choose honesty, patience, and forgiveness. If you've been touched by this story, leave a comment. And ask yourself, if you were caught in a flood of sudden desires, would you run, forget, or explore? My advice: choose trust, choose honesty, choose peace.